think there's one Mridanga. कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna
Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Hari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Hari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Hari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayo Radha Gokul Nand Radha Gokul Nand Radhe Jayo Radha Gokul Nand Radha Gokul Nand Radhe Jayo Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Jayo Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Jayo Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Okay. Yeah. Is there? Yeah, there's one here. Rinda, there's one here. You get some more from there.
So it's text 27 on chapter 13. We will be the chapter on the here, and we just take 13.27.
So, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for coming to Bhaktivedanta Manor. Oh, Lord Krishna, today, on this evening, on a nice sunny evening today, taking some spare time out, which is very nice. So, oh yeah, and also I'd like to welcome the online viewers to joining us. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can come nearer. So, thank you. Yeah, that's good. I don't have to. Right. So today we're going to be reading from Bhagavad-gita. We're on chapter 13 now, going quite a, which is called the nature, the enjoyer, and the consciousness. So far, okay. So we'll come on to this chapter in a minute, but so just before that, we'll say a few prayers, just to help us focus our mind and invite the Lord to be here present with us. So we say, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from chapter 13, verse 27. So just a quick recap of where we are in this Bhagavad Gita. So, yeah. 1327. So if you've got the brown book, this one, it's page 551. Now, which book is that one? Help. It should be page 551 if that's a brown book.
551.
Yeah. Could be a different number. So anyway, we're chapter 13, verse 27. So far in the Bhagavad-gita, we've come sort of on the last run of the book, as one would say. So, as we know, the Bhagavad-gita is divided into 3 sections. So, chapters 1 to 8 is Karma Yoga. Chapter 9 to 12 is Bhakti Yoga. And chapter 13 to 18 is Jnana Yoga. So, Jnana, we're just at the beginning of Jnana Yoga. Jnana, which actually means knowledge. So, we've talked about our duties and what we should be doing in the first chapter, from chapter 1 to 8. Chapter 8, 9 to 12, Bhakti is about devotional service, the different types of devotional services there are, what we should do in devotional service, how we should conduct devotional service. So you've got your duties that one should be doing. Lord Krishna has talked about Bhakti, devotional service, and now he's talking about further knowledge. That we just begin to find out what is the knowledge of the absolute truth, is what he's going to come on to now. So prior to this, we had chapter 12, which was all about devotional service. So that's where Krishna finished off about bhakti. He told us about the 9 different processes of bhakti. And the very first process is Shravana, which is what we are doing here today, which is listening. Because listening is very powerful. As I say, listening is so powerful, sound is so powerful that if you listen to something, it can take you back in time. You can remember so much. I'm sure there's a lot of us here who, if you played a music from 1980s, you'd oh yeah, I know. And then you can recall that time, what you were doing exactly at that time. That's the power of sound. So this is why sound is so important. So this is where the hearing process comes in. So whatever you hear, you can relate to it, whether it's now or whether it's in a year's time, 2 years' time. There's always something that will trigger something off in the back of your mind. That's the power of sound. So that's why they say listening is so important. When anything you do, it's like when we're at work, we have to listen to instructions. Without instructions, what someone gives us, we won't know. So that's why sound is so important. So here we are on chapter 13. We've covered chapter 12. Now, let's switch it off. My mistake, I should switch it off. So yeah, so now we're on chapter 13, which is called Nature, the Enjoyer, and the Consciousness. So today we're in chapter 27. So, verse 27, chapter 13. So if we read out this verse. Yavat sanjayat kinchat sattvam sattvaram jangamangam kshetra kshetra samyogat tat vidhi bharat rashabha. Yavat sanjayat kinchat sattvam sattvaram jangamam kshetra kshetra jnana samyogat tad vidhi bharat sabha. Okay. So translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Yavat, whatever, Sanjayat, comes into being, Kinchit, anything, Sattvam, existence, Satvara, Satvara, not moving, Jangamam, moving, Kshetra, of the body, Kshetra Gyan, and the knower of the body, Sam Yogat, by the union between, Tad Vidhi, you must know it, Bharata Rishabha, O chief of the Bharatas. Translated, O chief of the Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. So the purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, both material nature and the living entity, which were existing before the creation of the cosmos, are explained in this verse. Whatever is created is but a combination of the living entity and material nature. There are many manifestations like trees, mountains, and hills, which are non-moving, and there are many existences which are moving, and all of them are but combinations of material nature and the superior nature. The living entity, without the touch of the superior nature, the living entity, nothing can grow. The relationship between material nature and spiritual nature is eternally going on. And this combination is affected by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, He is the controller of both the superior and inferior natures. The material nature is created by Him, and the superior nature is placed in this material nature. And thus all these activities and manifestations take place. So we're just going to say another small prayer. If anybody wants to follow, it's on page 1 called the introduction. Okay. Om Jnanati Mirindasya Jnananjala Shlakaya Chakshurun Yena Tasme Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Sadadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padham Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakham Tatamscha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Taptaka Changai Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakal Padrubhashya Kirpa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're in chapter 13, text 27. Those, O chief of Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. So now Krishna is trying to explain to us quite nicely that everything that exists that you see moving and non-moving is only down to him. But if you go back just a couple of verses, in verse 25, Krishna tells us there's two types of people. There's the atheist, people who don't believe in God, who only think for themselves. They live for the moment, here and right now. That's all they are for the moment. And then we have the renounced people who know there's something higher, spiritual, and they are aware that there is a spiritual world, that there's something beyond this material world that we're living in. There's something higher, something further than that. So when you look at the two types of people, you have the atheist who like to analyze everything. Like, if I've got a pen, they'll say, why is the pen all right? If I say, well, this is a black pen, somebody say, well, how do I know? It could be different color in there just by looking at it. But obviously, they like to analyze. They want to see the proof. So in a similar way, when we say everything here is a product of God, they'll say, why? How? They want to see proof. Like, you say, the sun is shining. They say, yes, but it's cloudy. But technically, the clouds are covering the sun. The sun is always there, so the clouds are covering the sun. The wind is constantly there, but you only feel the wind when it really blows harshly. But when there's a gentle breeze, you feel it then. But you can't actually physically see it with the eyes because we don't have the eyes to see that. And then, like plants, there's another thing. They say, well, plants are just plants, aren't they? What are they? They're not living, are they, or anything? But then, when you see certain plants, if you cut certain plants, you see it, the sap that comes out of it, it's like weeping. The plant is weeping, so that's the life force coming out of the plant. And then, on the other hand, you have the renounced people who take this idea of spirituality. They think, okay, everything has a soul in it. Everything that's living has a soul in it. So when we say, okay, like humans have a soul, all the plants and animals, they also have a soul. How is that so? But then, if everything has a soul, so then we're all the same, we're all equal, so we should all be loving each other. That's the whole idea of that we should be, it's all created by the Lord. So if everything's created by the Lord, why should we harm something? And in a similar way, like we accept that all the plants, animals, everything, they're all living beings, they all have consciousness, whether it's a highly elevated consciousness like ours, or if it's a minute consciousness, they all have a consciousness and a soul inside. So that's why, we see, when we follow in Krishna consciousness, we say, whatever you make, whatever you prepare, partake, we offer it to the Lord first, which like they're going to do very shortly here. We do an offering to the Lord, so if there's any sins occurred from making the prep, cutting the plant, everything, that we don't want to incur any of that sin. So, and also like when we see animals, we see some of these animal products, right? Like milk products, how many products we can make from that. So that's all, we offer that to the Lord as well. So you have this loving relationship between the plants and everything that you see that's around us, we have a loving relationship with them. And then that's verse 25. And then you come into verse 26, which is just the one before. And how do we develop on from that? Because spirituality is not taught at schools. It's just touched upon very lightly. It's something, it's either, like my parents knew just on the peripheral, just the edges, they didn't go into much details. So they wouldn't, if I was to say, why do they do this function? Why is this happening? They say, well, I don't know, my parents used to do it, and their parents used to do it, and their parents used to do it. So we're just following them from what they used to do. So it's never really taught like on a one-to-one thing. This is why something is done. So it comes to a point where hearing is so important. So we want to hear from people. We want to hear from someone who's had the first-hand experience. And this is why we say hearing is so important. And everything starts from hearing. And that's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying is hearing on authority. Say, hear from authority, hear from people who've seen this, what we call a higher dimension. Speak to them, ask them questions. Only by asking questions will you learn. It's like when we're at school, a teacher gives us a subject. We don't understand the subject, and if I was to think, well, I used to do it sometimes as well at school. I think teacher used to say something, I was thinking, yeah, right, okay, I understood it. But at the back of my mind, I was thinking, God, I really need to understand how that's done. But unless you don't ask that question, you won't get any clarification on that. So in a similar way, we have to learn and hear from authority. And the realized souls are the people we should be actually contacting, speaking to them. Because why? When you listen to the sannyasis, to these realized souls, they have, when we say realized, they've got an understanding, their mind is focused, they have so much knowledge, and they want to share that knowledge to us. And when they share that knowledge with us, when we ask them questions, it automatically attracts us to what they're saying. You're thinking, wow, that really makes sense. They can explain in such a way that would be so difficult for us to understand. And they are like the Googles of devotional knowledge, that's what they're like. Anything, ask them, they'll tell you. But because they're so pure in the heart, being pure in the heart, they just teach whatever they heard, and whatever they've heard is from their spiritual master, and whatever he's heard is from his spiritual master. So it's coming down in a distinct succession, so when you go to Srila Prabhupada and you start going all the way back up, it comes in linear, so it goes all up to Lord Krishna. So he's Lord Krishna, Lord Vyasa, comes down in that succession up to Srila Prabhupada, and from Srila Prabhupada it comes to his spiritual masters. And they're teaching exactly the same thing, not a single word has been changed. So now we're getting this knowledge, but the thing is, what we're also trying to say is, don't change the activities that you're doing every single day. And do your activities. We don't say completely give up everything that you're doing. No. Carry on doing your duties that you're doing, but add some devotional service to it. The first thing is listening. And when listening, don't speculate. Ask questions. Because what does the word speculate mean? Anyone have an idea? What does speculate mean? Guessing, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Assuming, yes. So that's why we shouldn't speculate on anything. In devotion, don't speculate. It's like form your own theory. Shri Radha Gokulnand Bhagwan Ji ki, Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we shouldn't speculate because we don't have you have incomplete knowledge otherwise, Why do we do this? Why should I do this? How should I do this is what we want to know. And the only way we can do that is if we serve the devotees, serve the pure devotees. Why? Because it gives us the opportunity to ask them questions. The who, what, why, how, when. These are the questions that we have to ask from them. And when we ask them these questions, they'll give us the answers. Why? Because once we ask them these questions, it'll help us grow in our understanding. It'll change us who we are, our attitude, and our whole outlook on life will change. Because what we're trying to do is establish devotional service in our heart. A lovely verse comes to mind from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's 1:2:20. Evam prasana manaso bhagavad bhakti yogitaha bhagavad tatta vijnanam mukta sange jayate. It says, established in the mode of alloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been cultivated by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. So, by doing devotional service, automatically you drive these pleasures. You want to do service. Once you start doing these services, you want to do more services. And the more services you do, the sense of enjoyment and accomplishment that you achieve, that you are doing something useful. Because we all want to serve, everyone is a servant of someone. We all serve, if I'm at home, I'm serving the wife is serving me. If at work, we're all serving someone else. Everyone's serving someone wherever we are. So, but devotional service takes you on a higher platform where you get real sense enjoyment from doing that. And then that brings us on to text 27, where we are today. Where it says that, O chief of Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. So here, the first two words, Yavat Sanjaya Kinchit. It says, Yavat, whatever, Sanjaya, comes into being, anything in existence. So whatever that comes into existence, when you see it from the really enormous mountains that you can think of, or the infinitesimal small ants and little, I don't know, what's something smaller than ants, whatever you can find, microbes and everything, it all comes from Krishna, you see, from his potencies. It's all from him. And it's all to do with the union of the Kshetra Gyan and the Kshetra. So, Kshetra Gyan is a knower of the field. And the Kshetra, which is the body, is known as the field. It's just like a pitch, you can imagine a pitch. So, the pitch is a Kshetra. So if you have whatever's happening on that pitch, the person who's in charge of that pitch will know exactly what's going on inside there, because he can see what's happening on that pitch. So similar, you have the soul which resides inside the body, then you have the Paramatma. But the body is just a covering, which is only a place where all these activities can take place. So inside the body, we have the Atma and the Paramatma. They coexist at the same time. And Vedic philosophy is such that it tells us that this consciousness exists in everything. That's the beauty of it. It tells us there's consciousness, plants, birds, animals, and the Lord is everywhere. Is present in all the things that are moving and all the things that are non-moving. It's hard to imagine when you think, well, okay, I can imagine the Lord being present in everything that moves, like we see humans, animals, and all the aquatics and everything, but non-moving, how is that so? So you think of it. But when we go back in chapter 10, Krishna says quite clearly, he is, I am the super soul originator, seated in the heart of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. So chapter 10, verse 21. So that's quite interesting. He's saying, I'm seated in the heart of everything, all the living entities. Sometimes we think, well, living entities, are they really? We can see, with our vision is very limited, but we can see everything goes through the process of birth, old age, disease, and finally death. So when we look around, you see humans go through that, animals go through that, even plants go through that. The plants will go through a stage where they grow from a seedling, they go to a tree, a big tree. Disease will take place even on plants, and eventually they dwindle and die. So everything goes through these four processes. And then Krishna also says to further that, okay, there's plants and animals, but even the demigods, he goes, of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas, I am Rakshasa. I am the Lord of Wealth, Kuvera. Of the Vasus, I am Fire, Agni. And on the mountains, I am Meru. So he's saying even the demigods, they come from me. Even the mountains, Mount Meru, comes from me. I'm in that. And then just to and somebody might want to question it further. He says, text 24, he goes, O priests, O Arjuna, known to me, be the chief Brihaspati, of generals I am Kartikeya, and of the bodies of water I am the ocean. So he's saying even the bodies of water, that's me. So everything moving and non-moving. So it's, when you think of water, really, how can the Lord be in that? But Krishna does say, I am the taste of water. So we have water every day, so that's Krishna as well. So everything that's moving and non-moving is there. Krishna is in everything. But what he's trying to say is, we have to cultivate the way of loving everything that exists simultaneously. So we can't say, I will love this and I won't love this, but I love this because I like this and this is suitable to me. No. He goes, whatever you see, whatever is here, we should love it all. We should have that loving feeling coming from deep within. The Lord is present, like we said, in trees, mans, animals, etc. The classic one that comes to my mind is like Vrindavan. We all know what happened after Krishna troubled Lord Indra. He's saying, why are you worshipping Lord Indra? He doesn't provide anything apart from rains, but we should worship Govardhan. So Krishna said we should worship Govardhan. And so why? Govardhan was a mountain. And why should we worship? Because he said that provides you with everything that you need. And obviously, and how does it provide everything? Because Krishna facilitates that. Everything through nature, through his nature. He provides everything. And then, when we say plants, obviously, we see the trees, and here we have, every morning, if you come here in the morning, we do Tulsi Puja. Okay, we're worshipping a very sacred, special plant. Because why? Because Tulsi is so dear to Krishna. So, but then a lot of people will think of it. Why do you worship a tree? A Tulsi is just a plant. But when you see it, with every plant and animal, they're all living beings. So Tulsi Maharani, we call it Tulsi Maharani because it's a living person. This potency is there, and when you think of it. We have the classic example. Some of these trees, when you think, well, we could just chop down a tree, doesn't make a difference to it. But when we see Damodar Leela, some of these trees that we see, like, they can live for quite a number of years, like, 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 years, 600 years, thousands of years. I know there's one thing on the news just the last week or so, someone chopped down a tree that was 600 years old and thinking, wow, But I remember in a couple of lectures I listened, there's some, I think it's in America, they have these redwood trees which are like thousands of years old. So you can imagine they're really old trees. And when you come to a Damodar Leela, you think, well, these trees are living, because why? The classic example comes from Damodar Leela, where Lord Krishna, when he breaks the pot, and Mother Yashoda ties him up and he runs off with a mortar. And what does he do? He sees these two trees and he breaks through them. And what comes out of them? Two personalities. So these trees, even though we say they're just trees, but they are personality. There's consciousness in there. But it's very small consciousness. It's covered consciousness. We can't see it. So, and the other thing is, like we say, animals. If you like animals, all living, what does Krishna say? Krishna, we have so many names, like Krishna Vrindavan Govinda. Why? Because he loves the cows. Go means cow. So Govinda. So Krishna says that, if you love me, you love my cows. The thing is, life is very complicated in itself anyway. The Vedas are very complicated. So we want to try and keep it simple. And how do we keep things simple? Just to stick to Srila Prabhupada's program, How do we stick to Srila Prabhupada's program? Easy. Chant 16 rounds, Enjoy your prasadam. do everything, like attend the morning programs, the evening programs, listen to lectures. And nowadays we have so many opportunities, not just if you're on the move. I mean, if you have the opportunity to read from the book, that's fine. If you don't have the opportunity to read from the book, Bhagavad-gita, there's all these apps on the phones now, and you can scroll through the apps. If you can't scroll through the apps, you can listen to it through headphones. And if you don't have the opportunity to listen to the headphones, there's so many other opportunities that you have just to, and you can get a clicker now to keep your mind occupied with Krishna's name. You can just click, and on the clicker say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That might keep you occupied. And even if you don't have a clicker, you can just mentally chant. There's no hard and fast rule of that. So, Krishna, there's so many opportunities we have. I mean, if one gets the opportunity, it's like Srila Prabhupada says, spiritual life is A, B, C, and D. A is association, B is read his books, C is chanting, and D is dancing. Because all these things will help us in our spiritual progress. Why? Because at the end of the day, spirituality is such a thing that nobody can take it away from you. Each individual person is on their own journey. And being on their own journey, it's up to each individual of us to steer our, as they call, aircraft on the spiritual journey. Because if I ask someone else to do it, or if you ask someone else to do it for us, it won't work. We're just a passenger. Because everyone has their own direction, own speed that you go at. But you should know that speed that you want to go at. Do you really want to come back? Because quite often we do think, really, is there reincarnation? Does it take place? Is it so? Does it really happen? And sometimes you think, the way I look at it is like, if you're doing the gardening, you manage to clean out all the soil and everything. You take out all the weeds and everything. And the garden looks fantastic for a week or so. And after that week, you see a little weeds sprout from the ground. And you're thinking, how the hell did that come? Where I got rid of all the weeds. I remember when I was doing my gardening at home, I went through the ground about a good 6 to 8 inches. I took everything out, whatever I could think. And what happens? After about, I think, 10, 14 days, you see these weeds starting to come up from the middle of nowhere. And you think, wow, So reincarnation does take. It's happening all the time, When you think of it, so many plants, animals, humans, they're going through this process of the 840 million species of life. So it's constantly ongoing, no matter where you are, where you look. And you think, do I really want to stay in this? Or if someone said to me, you know what, you have an opportunity window there to get out from all this. You can choose that, or you can come back through the cycle. I would say I'd rather take the opportunity, if I can, to get out of this. Because why not? Why wouldn't we want to come out of this cycle of birth and death? Do I really want to be here? No. So this is why we say we come to this temple, we come to ISKCON, we come to learn about Krishna. Why? Because it's like a healthcare system, When we think healthcare system, okay, what do we mean, healthcare? We are not into repairing broken arms and broken eye sockets or trouble with the ears. No. Our system of healthcare is purifying the heart. And why do we want to purify the heart? We've got so many years of dust that has been accumulated on the heart. We want to get rid of all the dust that's been accumulated on the heart. And we want to become so pure in our service, in our devotional service to the Lord, that whatever we do, we want to give it to Him as an offering. Why? Because devotional service is such, it's like they say, it's like a bank account. We want to develop all these credits in the account. So we're building up all these credits. Krishna will say, okay, he's done this service, he's done this service, he's done this. at least we have this opportunity in this lifetime of doing some sort of service, because who knows when we'll get this chance again. Because I can't guarantee to say that, I live to be 80, 90. Nobody knows what's going to happen the next minute. So why waste this opportunity? Try and take to a devotional service, build up some credit. At least then you can say, well, you know what, I've done some service rather than no service. And if you have the opportunity, if you find it so difficult, he says, the thing is, you can make it simple as you want or as complicated as you want. And Krishna doesn't ask for much. All he asks for, offer me with love, water, a leaf, flower. So how hard is that? If you've got a garden, you've got some flowers growing at the back, offer him a flower every day. If you making some nice preps at home, cooking something, just think I'm cooking it for the Lord, offer it to the Lord, it becomes prasad, and offer it to the rest of the family. There's so many ample opportunities. If there's nothing else, even if you just, when you see the deities, bow down to them. At home, just make a small altar, put something there, and whatever you can do, any kind of service. And if you have difficulty understanding how this is all done, please come to a temple here. You have so many opportunities to do service here, And if you want to study further into these books, into this Bhagavad-gita as it is, written by Srila Prabhupada, there are ample courses that you can do here. Come to the School of Bhakti. There are so many things that you learn. I normally thought, Bhagavad-gita, it's a very complicated book, which it is. But when they start teaching you it, I always used to think, I never got the time for this. I can't understand it. It doesn't make sense. I can't put two and two together. This is the book that you read only when you come to the point of helplessness, and something happens to you, there comes a turning point. That's when you will pick up this book and start reading. But you know what? The good thing with the Bhagavad-gita is it tells us things that we need to know for every day of our life. Anything that happens, you can pick up and open up a page, and you'll find the solution in the Bhagavad-gita. So this is why we say, please. The book is complicated, yes, but it can be made pleasurable to read in such an easy way. Here at the Manor, they do there's so many courses that they do, Gita Life, Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav. It enhances one's knowledge. Because the thing is, I didn't know why certain things or certain rituals are done. But now when you read the books, it tells you why things are done, in what way things are done. Like when we talk to people, they say, well, you have so many gods. Who do I actually go to? Who do I turn to? Because there's so many, I think that's good, and I think that's good, but you guys say Krishna is the best. They're thinking, okay. But then, when you read the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says quite emphatically that I'm the seed-giving father of everything that exists. So, when he says that, you think, okay, so if everything comes from him, and then now he's saying in this verse, everything that you see moving and non-moving is coming from him as well. So you think, okay, that's two and two together. So he is the source of everything. So that's why we say Krishna. And then when you look further, when you go into even more deeper courses, when you study in more detail, like Bhagavad-gita is just the very basics, like the very basic handbook. And then you have the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the next level up. And then you got the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is even higher. And there's so many other books that you can delve into to learn so much knowledge about spiritual life, about devotional service, about who Krishna is, and what does it all mean? And this is what we're trying to say. And Krishna then does say, 7:14, that it's difficult to understand what Krishna is trying to tell us. Hey? I've got it, yeah. 7:14, this divine energy of mine, consisting of three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So it is difficult. Even Krishna says it's very difficult to understand because it's not easy. But if you have the patience, if you have the desire within the heart to learn something, you can do it. So when he says the three modes of material nature, there's goodness, passion, and ignorance. When you come to here, the temple here, we try to get everybody to be in the mode of goodness. Why? Because in the mode of goodness, you'll learn something. In the mode of passion, you say, oh, I like this, but I don't like this. You're very agitated. You won't learn something because you'll only be very selective in what you want to do. But in the mode of goodness, everything will make sense to you. And in the mode of ignorance, you'll totally ignore it. Say, I don't believe in all this. It's just gobbledygook. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't believe there's reincarnation. I don't believe there's a God. If there was a God, why do so many things happen? Because things happen for a reason. Because everyone has, again, then it comes down, when you read the book, everyone has their own karma. There's always an equal and opposite reaction for everything that you do. Like, if someone steals something from somewhere, he will get caught and eventually go to prison. Now, what they tell us is like, okay, there's one person who will carry on stealing, going to prison, steal, go to prison. And yet there's the other person who'll say, right, if you steal something from somewhere, you'll end up in prison. I don't want to do that. So some people can learn from, just by looking at others, learn from examples. And this is what we're doing. When we see people here who've been in this movement, we see, look at Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, at the age of 70, he went to conquer the West. Who would say that? At the age of 70, I want to leave home and travel to the West, somewhere totally unknown. Even now, with so much happening, even now, you got so much information on Google, this, that, and the other. Somebody might say, do you want to travel to that country? You say, no, not really. I don't know what's happening over there. You would think twice, but Srila Prabhupada didn't think of it. Why? Because he has that firm faith in Krishna, that Krishna is with me. And this is what happens when you come to this mode of goodness. You have that faith. You believe in the scriptures. You have that 101% faith that Krishna is with me. He's guiding me in what to do. So Srila Prabhupada went to the West. He started preaching. And look where he's come to now, after so many years. He's built so many temples in every country around the world you can think of it. Wow. Would there be a temple that place? Yes, there is. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada's Krishna consciousness is nothing that he's concocted of his own idea. It's whatever's been said by Lord Krishna is what he's written in the book. And that's what he's translated. And the beauty of Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gita is like, I can't read Sanskrit or Hindi. But for me, I can read in English. And it makes sense to me. When I used to go to a normal temple, the priest would say, do this, and do this. I wouldn't know why. He goes, oh, today's this day. You shouldn't do this. Today's that day. You shouldn't do this. But now when you come to the temple here, you read the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says, why do you want to do this? And why do you want to do this? It's like, you have a tree. Why do you want to put water on each leaf of the tree when you can just put water to the roots and everything will be suffice, will be nourished? So in a similar way, when we come to a temple here, Lord Krishna is the source of everything. Doesn't it make sense that we offer our obeisances, our respect, and do our devotional service to Lord Krishna, who will satisfy all the other demigods and all the others? And automatically, everything will be taken care of. Because sometimes, even now, back home, my in-laws, my cousins, they say, oh yeah, today we shouldn't be doing this and we shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, okay. So we should all be doing one thing. We should all be chanting the holy name. It's Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I think, thank you there. We'll end it there because Aarti is going to start in about 5 minutes. So if anyone has any questions or any points they'd like to clarify or comments or after class or after the Aarti. It's going to start, because the Aarti is going to start very shortly. Then after Aarti, they will be serving Mahaprasad. Please have that. That's...
No, that's fine. Srinivas Prabhu can answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah. Any questions? I don't mind. Yeah. Okay. Shri Bhagavad-gita ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Praise Radha Krishna ki jai. Shall I give you this? Are you going to sing with us? No, I'm going to go. You want to go?
I'm going to sing this song. First I'll sing it, repeat after me. Jaya Jaya Gaura Sande Aroti Ke Shiva Jaya Jaya Gaura Sande Aroti Ke
Hare
Rama
pranam after me. We say Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Pairaj Kacharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Ananti Koti Vaishnavinda ki Ramachashila Haridas Thakur ki Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Vedagada Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinda ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan ki Mayapur Vrindavan Dham ki Nilachala Jagannath Puri Dham ki Krishna Devi Bhakti Devi ki Ganga Devi Yamun Devi ki Harinam Sankirtan ki Samveda Bhaktivinda ki Nitai Gaur Premanandi all those assembled devotees, all those assembled devotees, all those assembled devotees, all those Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Everyone can sit down for 5 minutes, going to pray to Lord Narasimha's protection.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlad Raj Gaine. Prahlad Raj Gaine. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Shilakankana-kalaye. Hito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimho. Hito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimho. Yato yato yami tato Nrsimha. Mahe Nrsimho Hridaye Nrsimho. Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapade. Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapade. Akar Kamalavare Naka Adbhuta Shila Lalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringa Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Nrsimhadev Jaya Nrsimhadev Jaya Nrsimhadev Jaya Nrsimhadev. प्यारे भगवान की, भक्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की, लीला प्रभुपाद की, निताई गौर प्रेमानंद।